Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Monday, April the 8th, 2019. And this is actually a quantum playground and a CCC tonight. You told me I could, so I did. Because Jeanie is with us as well. Welcome, Jeanie.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
And so, as we were kind of chitty-chatting before we started recording, BZ got walloped with a really good one that I enjoyed as well. I love this topic. I'm gonna emphasize that. When you top the list, you give the most to others. This is for me a huge it's been something I've been focusing on now for at least 2 years. And I see a lot of folks saying, well, I don't have time to do this, that, or the other to take care of you. And I'll see mothers that are frazzled and they don't even, have time to brush their hair and stuff like that. And there's a reason that the airplane people tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first. Yeah. Because we can't help anyone or give anything to anyone if we're not taking care of us. And I too have had issues because part of that whole feeling of not taking care of self, well, that's selfish.
Yeah.
If I take care of myself, that's a selfish thing. Or I don't matter is another one. Mm-hmm. Or I have to do this or that or the other, and I don't have time. Until somebody gets sick because they haven't taken the time. Until somebody, I don't know, it's just we deplete ourselves so much. This is a huge topic, and it's an important one. So thank you, BZ. I know that when I first started, putting up some boundaries for myself and learning learning itsy bitsy little steps of how to try to take care of me and putting up those boundaries to take care of me made a lot of people mad. Made a lot of people confused because it wasn't how I behaved before. It can be considered unloving, or that's what I was told. That's what I was told at first,
Right. Well, I think one of the best ways to begin playing with this is to I'll approach it from a very linear way first. It's the whole idea of giving and doing something for someone else and giving is portrayed in and it's slightly different in all various societies around the planet, but we'll just say in human society as, a very good thing to do. And like so much else that is fully wrapped up ensconced in the false construct, and much more than that, it is actually by design specifically of the false construct. It is the reverse of what is actually true for all beings. So in essence, when we're on that giving train, and we misconstrue, and somehow, often people don't, but sometimes they do, they misconstrue the selfless act A true selfless act is a totally different thing. The rest of this is actually poison to ourselves, and here's the wake-up call, it's poisonous to every other being that we think we are being good to, helpful to, because the energetic frequency that we carry when we do all that stuff, you could pick anything, is truly not of love in an open, expansive way. And you could think of it, let's see if I can get a metaphor that kind of works. It's like, you know those meters when you're parking on the street and you go and you put the time meter on for parking lot, right?
Yeah.
So every time you do that, you're the way the system is set up and the way that you're taught to do it a certain way. It's drilled into you a certain way to do this, right? I know there's 4 of us right here that are on camera, and it's been drilled into all 4 of us, and I can parade you bazillions of other people, and it's been drilled into them too. Okay, but what you're told, what it's construed as the fact that you're doing is actually the inverse of what you're really doing, which is poisoning all those that you're coming into contact with. Because in the act of this twisted, I'll just say it plain, in the act of the twisted energy around this, you have actually stuck a meter, like the meters on the street, on all of these people, and you actually have charged them, like I'm charging you $10 or whatever it is. You've charged them a meter that goes into their bank, into perpetuity, into their timeline. It's not quite the right word, but it gives you a good picture, bank of their life, that's tick, 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 ticking, that they're owing this to others. Does that make sense? So we think
Yes.
we're giving. And go ahead.
Right.
I said yes.
Yeah. And
I
it's
had a little bit of a question behind it.
Okay.
I mean, I think I feel like I grok it, but I'm not exactly clear. I mean, I understand the poisoning part of it. Are you meaning to say? So what I was thinking when you were speaking there about it was that this going into theirs, is that part because of the conditioning that's attached to that, thereby conditioning them to do the same?
That would be one way to do it, but that's kind of on top of what I'm talking about. It's like a bondage meter. So yes, it's passed down from mother to daughter or son or husband, wife, or what, pick any, dog, cat, anything it is. And because there's always an attachment, there is always a withdrawal on both parties, and then that meter keeps that it will draw back the payment due.
Okay, so in my life, my great grandmother and my mother would butt heads all the time, and my mom used to say that everything my grandmother did, that the giving, the selfless acts, those sorts of that, they were her version of a selfless act. My mother said to me that she extracts her pound of flesh. So is that what you're speaking on there?
Yes, and sorry about that. That's part of it. But what I'm talking about is this is part of the whole construct. For the false construct, this is inlaid. So make no mistake about it, that no one corners the market on doing too much and then painting themselves in a corner years down the road where they've actually kind of created this whole monster where they gave too much and now it's biting them in the ass and they're turtling around. And you've done actually the same thing, whoever the you is, right? So there's 52 billions of us on the planet, right? Has done the same thing to whoever that you've done this to, because you have instigated, you've programmed them as well. So that's part of it. So the actual false construct, and you could go very linear and very narrow in the perspective and say the controllers, you could put all sorts of labels on. Okay, great. Any of them work. That's true. But that it's a device. It's a control and it's a control device. It's a twisting of the whole frequency of love device. And you actually get all of your minions to train everybody who's coming up for you. There's not a lot of investment needed because they trained the first ones, out there generations ago. And now they're being well trained along the way. Does that make sense? So
I have oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just thinking of it in context of the way you're saying this is starting to click for me, in the sense of, I was raised Catholic and then born again Christian, and then my debt was to Jesus, and then of course I passed on my, you go give your life for others. Well, that was my my platform, so to speak, to do what I've done, in addition to just being a loving mom and family member and friend. But my awareness now is that we're all like Christ and not in need of a savior, not in need of saving someone, but in the aspect of taking responsibility for self-loving self, truly loving self, and living from that God spark within, and allowing things to be drawn to you through that love, as opposed to, I do this for you, you do this for me.
Right. And BZ, I got a question for you too, because through all of what you've said there and what we're speaking on here, I now really very clearly, easily see where it's a bit of a twist on the service to others kind of thing too, because there's a difference. Because I have done this myself, thinking that I was being of service to another, when in fact I was not.
Right.
Not only was I not in service to them at all, I certainly wasn't serving anyone, including myself.
Yep.
So it's not like I was being service to self either. Well, I guess I was in a particular manner, but just didn't realize it.
Yeah, because that's really the epitome of service to self, right? Helping yourself to everybody else's energies.
Yeah. Okay. So and that's a tough one too, then, because like I said, this all for, yeah. What is your definition of love and my definition of love and all of that? Wow.
Well, a selfless act is so. That's a very big topic, but we'll just touch on that for a moment because I was nudged you. So if you're feeling like there's any kind of have to or should or aren't I great for doing this or whatever, you've got to come up with a different word, because that's nowhere near the building for that. It just is. Something happens in the moment, you make your decision, that's the choice. And it's the most spectacular choice for you. Everybody else has disappeared in this scenario. If you watch them on a TV screen, all the other characters went away. And it was the crystal clear, the choice for you. And so now you put the characters back and you can look and say, okay, that was a selfless act. but it was your choice. It was pure, and it was your choice. So I just wanted to set that up for a minute. So there's no coincidence that so many beings do this and are exhausted by this and beat themselves up by this and flagellate themselves by this, and then actually they flagellate others because, again, that frequency, you're stirring this big bowl of soup, right? You know, and you're putting a pinch of this in and a pinch of that in, and you've got this brew, this nasty brew that's actually perfect because it's what the design wanted us all to create. Now, it's really important for me to note here too that that does not negate beings who, when they're doing something, they're doing it of love. But again, there's a different feeling when you're doing something of love, not because you should, you know, doesn't have all those other things. And yes, you can do some of like, you know, kind of if there's a conduit, you know, like a piping conduit, you could be putting some energy and some thought and some feeling and have your own kind of matching feeling to what you're doing in this conduit. So the conduit is flowing this thing or things, whatever you're doing for someone else, right? So paint the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that, most of that conduit is being flooded with exactly the design that was set out to do. So it has the poison soup in there, we'll say, right? And then there's also a bit in that conduit that is you, each being genuinely wanting to be helpful, be of service, be of love. You know, if you're talking about loved ones or family or any of those kinds of things, right? So that's in there too. And that's actually, you know, in the I hope this metaphor is going to work, but in the manufacturing of that conduit and the stuff in it, that ingredient, that true, clear, pure, clean ingredient that you're putting in is, it's the ingredient that binds it all together. It's like that. It's the stabilizer and the binder that binds all this other stuff that if you knew was in there, you wouldn't be putting it in there. It binds it together because it, in a way, one way to describe it is it ties you to the act and ties the act to you, if that makes sense. Because right now, all of what I'm talking about is all on a negative tick, 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 tick. You know, if you're talking about an account, it's a drawdown. It's a charge back. It's a minusing down, right? That makes sense. So something of love is of love. So it's a positive, not only as a positive negative, but as in more abundance, more love, more fulfilling, more overflowing, more love. I mean, you know, it's, oh, stop it. Why are you doing that? Sorry.
You're fine.
Because it wants to. Get over it.
I'm not, I hope I'm making sense, but because the way the system is set up and we have whole hog jumped right in and flown with it, is all a demerit system. It's you know, like if you were if you were a big pile of coin or value and look at that, that's a Freudian slip if there ever was, but you are the value, but that's a whole other story.
Yes, we are.
So it's kind of like taking coins off of your pile, and since you don't think that you're a non-depletion account of all these coins of value and whatever, although you truly are, right? the piggy bank's getting a little threadbare, literally and figuratively. And
yeah, especially right about now, huh?
You know, that's exactly what I feel like is happening. Exactly. Well put.
Yep. So you and how many other billions are out there, you know, just so that's how, if we can have an awareness of it, because your energy, Jeanie, about this has changed 90 degrees or more. Did I get that right?
Yeah. Yes, it hasn't. And you know, that's what I was trying to say earlier. It's like I have the ability to get myself out. It's like I'm all in it, but I can get myself out of it. But I have to continue to be conscious and, you know, aware in the moment. And it's taken a lot of effort to get here from that, you know, victim, abused, beaten down, worthless, unloved, rejected little Catholic girl that I used to be.
Right.
So it's been a long, hard, intentional journey to get myself to the place to where, you know, yes, I'm still suffering, but at least I'm conscious of it. And I can, when I start to feel this panic and stress, I can stop and breathe and say, you know, just stop and breathe.
Yeah.
and shift to something instead of feeling like it's killing me. I'll stop and think, you know, wow, look at that beautiful sunrise or whatever, you know?
Right.
So yes, thank you for saying that.
Well, but no, and the other thing too is that noticing that a lot of this, you know, you could call it, I mean, there's so many euphemisms, chasing your tail, or, you know, because we truly desire to be loving and helpful and so on and so forth, but we have there's this whole setup. The table has been set. I mean, it's gorgeous. Yes. We have incredible crystal goblets and the finest napkin. I mean, the table has been set. And we're sitting right down to the table and inviting all sorts of others to come. And the table has got suction cups and we can't get up from the table. But as soon as we see that the table has been set, it changes everything. The ability to get up from the table is much, much easier than it ever was prior to realizing that. Because the lack and the, you know, what am I doing wrong, or there's got to be something more than this, or being mad at ourselves because we're feeling guilty because we're tired because of all the giving. Those are all, you know, what's the way I phrased it before? They're kind of like the shielding on the programming. Good. Wait a minute, that one's starting to wake up. Oh, no, we got to, you know, fire that missile so that there's the guilt and there's this, because that glues you back to sit down at the table again. But if we can see what it is, it changes everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and the reverse is true too. That when you see that the table is set, and you walk away, you're also showing the others, probably all our loved ones at the table with us, this situation as well. And so if you really want to help them, you will focus on yourself and you'll get yourself up off the table. I love that.
Because that, absolutely right. Because when you have that act, then you actually, I wish I could just take the video that just played when you were saying all that, Lisa.
Yeah, me too.
But it was magnificent. It's, you know, so originally the table that was there was this quite a good sized formal dining table, you know, and the walls were movable and so it could get bigger. But when you were speaking, Lisa, a bunch of beings in the table stood up and stepped back from the table. And the walls dematerialized, and the space and place where this was now was unlimited, and the table shot around the entire planet, and everything that was on the table before dematerialized in a way that got whisked away. And as each being who had stood up and stepped back, and there was a whole plethora of ones still sitting at the table going, well, hey, you know, where's what are you doing? Get back here. You know, kind of. But as each being made that decision and that choice, and some had to, you know, do it repeatedly, they were able to lay yards and yards and yards of new cloth down for the tablecloth, and the plates changed. And so what I'm saying is that, yes, it takes everyone. And as you were talking about, Lisa, and there were various different reactions. So not every place setting might jump a couple place settings, because some were, you know, right pissed off, like, what the hell's the deal here, man? Come on. You know, and their place setting stayed the same, although they could see, instead of a beautiful china, maybe beautiful white china with a little edging on it, it was, you know how china gets those little cracks, tiny, tiny fissures in it? So it wasn't pristine white anymore. It was, so they didn't know why. But so this was unfolding, because we have the power to do this with everything. But it has to come from us. And one of the ways that I always reminded myself, and there were times, because I gold medaled in this, so there were times when, you know, I had to remind myself that it was poison soup, and that if I, you know, espouse that I love this person, or wanted to help, or maybe it was a community event, it could be all sorts of things. But I wasn't. So if I really did, then I would keep waking up. I would keep paying attention. I would keep looking at the table and resetting the table. Because otherwise, what I was saying and what I was espousing, what I was, you know, pick all sorts of words depending on what the situation was a lie. And I'd compounded it worse because I was awake to the fact that it was a lie. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So there were sometimes it would be, I don't know, a couple 100,000 times a day I would have to remind myself. And it would get easier and easier and easier. And yeah, you're right, Lisa, a lot of people were annoyed or angry, or, you know, you're just not yourself anymore. I'm thinking, yeah, well, actually, depends on your perspective. I'm more myself or less, you know. But we can do this, and so just for a minute to interject part of the title, you know, when you're at the top of the list, then you can give the greatest gifts to others, because not only are you then giving something, whatever it is, your time, your energy, your love, your affection, your wisdom, some skill, some money, you know, there's a big basket, pick anything you want. But now you're actually genuinely giving it. Nothing is attached to it in any shape or form. Nothing from you. And the little meter that was ticking and pulling something away, that's gone. There's no training meter, you know, attached. So all of those things, it's completely free and unencumbered and genuine. And so not only you're giving the gift, say you're giving someone some, I'm going to use it. So you're giving someone some money to help them out. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing it in a genuine way, where there truly is, it's it. As soon as it's given, that's it. That's the end of the thing, right? There's no strings attached. But what the beauty of this is, actually, that's not correct. Because it's so pure, and because it is now truly of the energetic frequency of love and expansion, it is a non-depletion. What you've put in is a non-depletion coin. I'm just going to use that phrase. Given them because it keeps giving. Because it's now one little seed that helps to remind them, whether they're conscious of it or not to be in the whole thing that you're breaking out of. So to start to see it. So does that make sense? So on lots of levels.
Some people may never have even experienced that. The feeling of receiving something without that attachment. So that is super important.
Yeah.
And the reason why it's not depleting is because you have it to give.
Right.
See, you filled your cup first. I like that analogy you were using of the meter running, because it is kind of like debits and credits, isn't it? Well, I'll throw you a little this time, but it's always with the expectation of getting it back. I never thought of it in terms of the meter before. That was really good.
And it's not only each being's meter, but it's the system's meter.
Oh, absolutely.
And even if you think you're walking away from it, it's taking.
Well, I through all of what we've been discussing here, what keeps coming up for me personally in this is the self-worth, because I prior to now, and it's still a program and conditioning that is like a groove, like we were talking about before, but it's different now for me in that, prior I noticed that I would give and give and give and give and give, and it almost seemed as though I was never giving enough, even though it felt like everything. But I didn't give to myself at all on any kind of a level. And I guess it was, I know it's because I didn't think that I was worth it. And it was absolutely reflected in my life, in my weight, in my, my carriage of myself, all sorts of kinds of things. Yeah, and that's that, and that too, I feel, is by design, on purpose.
Yes.
Part of that, all of that programming and conditioning. So it is really tied up in self-worth.
Yeah. And so if you're step out for a minute and think, okay, you're going to design a system. You're going to design a system where things are created and made for you off the back of the real value that's there, and the creation that's there, and it's on all levels. So the actual well, I'm just going to say it straight up linear. The slaves that you've created and the whole biodome in which you've created them in, everything that is a component of the slave. So the physical body, the core of that body, the DNA and all of that, all the way through to the mind and the heart and the whole way that the electromagnetic field, so all of the bodies work, have been tinkered with so that you could make them your slave. But the irony is that you actually don't control them at all. You just snow them to the thought that you control them. And you have just the right twists put in. So as I said before, without additional, just to keep using this metaphor, additional slave trainers, by God, they do a damn good job of training all the other ones. I mean, they bring up little ones and they train them, and they bring up other little ones and they train them some more. And should any of them get out of line, you know, then you got this whole society thing, and then those good little citizens, you know, they don't do that. We're gonna, you know. So, but I mean, think about it.
To the status quo.
Yeah, if you're gonna make a system, that's a damn good way to do it. I mean, it's brilliant. It's really brilliant.
Self-perpetuating.
That's right. That's right.
So
it was brilliant.
What?
Sorry, Jeanie.
No. What did you say?
I was just going to say it was really quite brilliant. It's been quite effective.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. Well, you know, through all of my intentional seeking of truth and trying to do unconditional loving in my life, although the conversation tonight has kind of broadened that perspective of it in a really cool way. But in my experience, coming up through the system, my eyes have been open to the fact that it is a biodome and I'm a slave. And at first I was really angry. I was so mad when I first found out what was really going on. And but then I remembered that I do have the ability to think and feel and choose for myself. And I do have love within my own being that is very powerful. And so in those moments when I remember, when I'm, you know, in the intensity of the bondage, and I remember, oh, just breathe, you know, just take a deep breath in, you know, and just remember that I have the power to do whatever, to be whatever, to have whatever. And in the awareness of that power, I've changed my own experience dramatically in a huge way for the better. So, and I would say even to the point to where I'm having this conversation tonight with you three beautiful ladies, and, you know, having this kindred spirit and awareness of the soup that we're swimming in.
Well, Jeanie, you brought up a very good point that, and I'm hoping I can find it. I want to include in the body of this video. There's a video out there called The 5 Stages of Awakening. And quite frankly, I got very angry too when I first started waking up. And I think that is one of the things we just kind of have to go through. Because especially like for me, I woke up to the geopolitical corruption and things like that first before I think that's a common thing. And most specifically, I've noticed with those of us that have come up through Christianity, we seem to wake up to the corruption first and shun almost everything that has anything to do with spirituality because, well, we left all that crap behind. And
well, I differentiated between spirituality and religion. You know, there's a clear separation for me in my pursuit in that regard. But yes, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I feel what you're saying there, and I wanted to say something about that because I think it's like at least what I've noticed is it feels like a transitional type thing. There are stages that one goes through, and because I'm not nearly as mad because now I know I'm also to blame. I am complicit in all of that as well. And that's why I said I couldn't see that. I couldn't feel that. I couldn't rock that at first until some of those stages and that expansion of my consciousness came about. But now that, you know, that's been happening, I can very clearly see, you know, how it's like I think that's part of that expansion.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So you're on this roller coaster and you climbing the hill and the angry thing, and everybody's banging the bejesus out of the side of the roller coaster carriage cart you're in, and then they dip down and they're doing, so the other stages, right, you're talking about, and as you keep progressing further, now as the table did, the whole mechanism, or whatever ride that you think is thrilling and fun and a little scary, or makes you want to throw up, or because this ride does all that kind of stuff, get me off of this thing.
Seriously.
But the reason I brought that metaphor forward is because we're not small. We're kick-ass creator beings. And this is a desirable, coveted, standing room only in general, but particularly right in these moments as everything in all, capital A, capital L, shifts and expands over, that we have, each being here on this planet, whether they know it or not, understand it or not, or can clearly see even just a tiny muddy glimpse of it, we garner so much more clarity, more perfection, more outrageously thrilling in beautiful bright colors of the truth of who we are and love, because we're on this ride, because the expansion, because we're kick-ass creator beings as a soul. The name of the game is not only to go forth and know source and keep sending in and having conversations about what you're noticing, but expansion. And we're on the ride that we keep creating bigger and bigger and bigger,
Yes.
And so Sheila, you were saying, well, I'm not angry anymore because we're all complicit. Yeah, okay, that's part of the things on the ride, but you got some more wee, and in moments you're already there, right, where you're going around corners and the vista changes. And now think of the most gorgeous Hubble picture you've ever seen, and the vastness of it, and the colors and the beauty and all that. So you think, and now put yourself in it, and you're every speck, every star-looking thing, every squiggle, everything is whole worlds. And you're creator of pieces of that. You're part of that. You're having experiences of that, and that's what this expansion is doing for all of us. So that kicks it up a whole nother notch.
About 6 or 8 years ago, I had this dream. It was a recurring dream for just a couple nights. But in the dream, I saw, like you said, up the Hubble in the sky, that colorful Eye of God image. Mm-hmm. It's like I saw that, and then it was exploding. Then I saw it, and it was exploding out. I saw it, and it was exploding out. It just kept appearing and exploding out in my dream. And that happened right about the time where a full reality, maybe not full, but a really powerful knowing of myself as God in my experience hit me. It was like it hit me, and I went to my knees in that moment, and it was just like, what, oh my God. And the piece that in this conversation that it's like I know that in my heart, but I get lost in, you know, in the meter, in the programming, all of those coins, whatever, the debits. It's like in my head, my brain, I go autopilot through the motions of the job and this and that and that. And that awareness, the power of that knowing of who I am escapes me, and I have to stop and just, you know, say, thank God, you know, I love what is and all that stuff. But I wish that I would have given myself more time to just go and do nothing and let myself be that which I know that I am. And that's the current frustration of my linear experiences. You know, I know this to the core of my being, and I'm frustrated because I know how powerful I am, and how come I can't leave that table and never come back to it? How come I can't? And maybe I can, and why am I not? You know?
All very good questions.
If you could, Jeanie, what would be one of the first things that you would play with doing? If you knew the answer,
I would play.
What would be the first thing you would?
Well, I mean, if I could do that and attract the finances to do what I wanted to do, I would travel, and I would write, and I would speak to people, and I would paint pictures, and I would go meditate in the park and lay down on the grass and stare at the sky. Which I do these things. What?
Sounds like you want to join it. Sounds like you want to join the CCC circuit.
You gotta watch the video because you gotta see what these guys.
Oh boy.
Well, it's just that that's what I've been feeling like I want to do. And that's why I said it sounds like you're packing your bags to come traveling with us.
I would love that. That would be awesome.
I would love it too.
Well, think about
you know, oh, go ahead, BZ.
Well, I was just gonna say, so all those things that you just laid out are if one doesn't let their mind turn back on, because boy, there's pretty loud kibitzing right this minute at this section of the video, but if you what comes to mind when you're, and that's kind of a rhetorical question, when you say that, when you just gave that whole list and the tenor and the quality of the toning, when you gave voice to that, is a frequency vibration. And you can play with and use your instrument to hold those notes and send those out wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And yes, ultimately get to all those things and as just a tiny bit of all that you're doing. So I'm pointing that out because the frustration for you and all who find themselves routinely or occasionally or once in a while, however it is, in that, it's exactly the same as that the new earth is right here, right now. You don't need to get the memo. You don't need to go take the free shuttle down, to 5th of May and walk on the ramp, that's shuttle's leaving the new earth now, but just because we've got the key to doing that. And have you ever used a key that goes into a lock and it's kind of sticky at first, or you're not, well, why doesn't this work?
Yes.
There might be something gumming up the works. Literally, the inside of a lock is called the works, right? So there must be gumming up well, part of that is to use you as an example right this moment, Jeannie, you went when I asked you, and bang, it was right there. Well, I don't know. I got to think about it. I haven't had any time. I mean, bang, it was right there, right? And the frequency of it was right there, and that came through shining in the toning of it was right there. So first of all, remember that what you say and how you say it matters, because you are bringing it into matter. Okay.
Well, I know that, and I know that, and hanging around people like you, having conversations like this, is what I desire and what would really be beneficial. Having to do what I do to put a roof over my head, and just in the system, play in the game like everybody else plays it. I know that words matter, and I know that the frequency, the feeling, is what makes things happen, and that's why I'm so frustrated. It's like, how did I get myself back into this place where it's I'm drawing myself down again by doing this? How do I get out of it? Okay, I know I get happy. Well, I've drawn this conversation to myself. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, you not only drew the conversation, you instigated the conversation. And when other things, kind of slowed it down, you kept tapping on the text box there and re-instigating the. Oh, you get me? I'm still here. So part of what I was saying is that we can change when we're in the mud pit and we're rolling around and we don't like it, but gosh darn it, we have to be in this friggin' mud pit right now. We can change the electromagnetic and the compositional components of the mud in the mud pit. Is that, I'm using a funny analogy, but it kind of works.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, and I do my best to do that. And maybe there's a reason where I am where I'm at, and the people are great on on the level that they are.
Well, it takes courage. Yeah. It takes courage to make the jump that you did from where you were to where you are now. Was that fair to say?
Well, I was there 5 months shy of 25 years, and my brain said, you can't quit until you have another job. And I was being pressed to do something that went against my spirit. Like when I thought about it, I felt like being physically sick. It's like, I can't do this. This is wrong for me. And so I gave my 2 weeks notice on Valentine's Day. Right. And so I didn't get hired on for 3 weeks afterwards. So yes, it took great.
So you trusted yourself.
I did.
You finally stopped listening to the nattering in between your ears, and you listened to your heart. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And so that may not be, I'm just going to call it the zing, because that's the good way to sum up what I asked you. If you knew what it was when you play with and you came, that zing thing, right? So it may not be the zing yet, right? But it's right. But it actually is miles, because it took you 25 years to jump the ship, and the ship wasn't even there that you were jumping to. You were like at the dock hoping a ship would come by, right? I'm playing with you because there's a tremendous amount of celebration that needs to be happening. And I don't see any evidence that there's been a hell of a lot of celebration going on.
Well,
yes.
What I feel about that though, BZ, when is that I want to compare this to some other things that seem to be taking too long. And what I mean by that is that we've become a society of want it now, want it right now. I can't wait. I've been waiting long enough and I want it right now. But Jeanie, I agree with BZ. You just jumped ship from the other place. Sometimes I just recently said out loud what my dreams and desires are for this traveling circus that you described, that, or what I call the traveling gypsy circus show that I'm thinking of, that I would like to embark on. And so just speaking that out loud just now, I don't know if you've ever actually spoken that out loud before, but toning that, I mean, sometimes these things, divine timing is a real thing too. So I don't know. I feel like there's times when I feel like, oh, am I ever going to be able to do this? But I know that it's coming. I just know that it's coming, and that when the timing for me is there, that I will be ready, because it is what I desire, and I just know that it's coming.
Well, and you're standing all in to do the work for yourself, to create it, unfold it, and allow it to happen. It's the allowing that's a big part. So
yes,
I really, okay, I'm beyond being nudged here. I've now been shoved. My chair just moved.
Wow.
We need to stop and
I'm
back
having
up.
trouble hearing you.
Okay, hold it. Yeah, me too. We can't hear you very well. So you got shoved.
Yeah, I got shoved to really.
I want to hear.
Can you hear me?
It's kind of low, but
just speak up, BZ.
Yeah, just hold it.
It's really important to stop for a minute and go back.
Okay.
Because Jeanie, I heard and felt and saw the frequency of what you said when you described not being at the other job anymore, but I'm pretty clear that you haven't heard it in the parts that need to hear what you said, even though you're the one who's been saying it and you actually are the one who did it. So
what do you mean?
Well, see?
That sounds funny.
So you described that you were at this other job and had been, just shy of 25 years and it's time to leave, but your brain, your mind, your head was telling you, no, you can't do that until you have another job lined up. And the next thing you described was, and whatever your word was, and Keegan's like pounding this home for everybody. You said my soul, right? My spirit, my heart said, I can't do that. I can't survive that. I will not do that. And you punched up those words when you were relaying the story.
Yes.
And so then what you did was you quit your job with no ship to get on the gangplank to walk up there. Right? And I'm going to put aside all of the false construct reason that there is Valentine's Day, and put that aside just for a moment. But you did it on Valentine's Day. There are no coincidences.
Okay? After I did it, when I gave And you know how I put it? I said, I am retiring, even though, that's how I worded it. And after I sent that message, I was like, woohoo! And, laughing and giggling. And I called my aunt and said, Aunt Gina, guess what I just did? Because I know she would really appreciate it. Yeah, I was happy as a clam. And, oh, sorry about that. And I wanted to stay not working, but
you're
I didn't do it.
You're not following the nugget here. You just qualified in your heat for your sport for the Olympics. I don't know why I'm on the Olympics, but anyways, you got the qualifying run for the Olympics on this thing. What you did is huge, and it hasn't landed yet in there for you.
I get what you're saying.
You stopped the tracks on everything and said, no. Yes, fear is out there. Yes, the head's telling me this. Oh, yeah, okay, great. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. It's great. I'm going to do this. And so that's the component. That's the energy frequency, that there are no limits. Right in that moment, you did that. And so and you've already done it. It's not like you got to learn how to do it, or you're going to try to do it, or maybe someday, sort of, kind of, I could do it. You did it. And you just did it. So what I'm saying is that has an energy signature to it. And so if you like steps and manuals, well, you wrote the friggin' manual, you printed the manual, it's right out there for you to work with it. So you keep doing that. And yes, the metaphor changes for what you're pointing, this manual that you got at. But right then and there, you stepped out of the system. You stepped out of the false construct. You stepped out of the programming. You stepped out of the denial. You stepped out of the I'm small. You stepped out of the I don't love myself. You stepped out of the I'm not worthy. The list is long. I keep doing this for a couple hours and what you stepped out. But I don't. No, I'm certain you haven't stepped into the appreciation of that crystalline moment. The Christed moment that you did that is huge. And once you realize that, then it changes the lens. You can, it's a filter that is very helpful for you, like a lens filter on a camera, right? So that filter is when you're gonna want to keep screwed onto your lens when you're widening your aperture, right? Because it's courage and valor and expansiveness and open-heartedness, and it's the path to take you where you want to go. And even though you tone this beautiful description of where you want to go, that's just a tiny scratch on the surface of where you really want to go. But you haven't revealed that. You haven't been honest with yourself to let you see that yet. So you're going to start and you're going in.
Well, I actually have, but I've been seeing it for a long time, and I say it all the time. I mean, ask anybody that knows me, what does Jeanie want to do? She wants to write. She wants to do this and this and that, So, yeah, I've had visions for a long time of really big things, and that's why I was saying that I was so frustrated when we first got on the call tonight. So I will take some time to meditate on that is a momentous event, because it was huge.
Well, I have a sense because of something that you said earlier, Jeanie, when you spoke on the fact that you were, I think I felt this because I recognize myself in this comment. I feel like there's a possibility that even without realizing it, you're being very hard on yourself for taking that other job. And so,
well,
because it's
not really hard on myself, but the job is really intense and really stressful. And, you know, I'm learning a lot, and, you know, but it's the energy that it's bringing to me is not good. And it's like, well, I did the best I could in the moment, but I'm realizing this is not going to be, I'm not long for this place just because of the energy that I am in 40 hours a week plus. So, but the other thing is, and I'm going to say this, I know this is recorded, God, and everybody's probably going to hear this, but I have played small because I've been afraid. I've learned some things over 3 decades ago, and I have flown under the radar because of fear of allowing myself to be big. There, I said it.
I feel you, honey. Believe you me, I feel you.
You're not alone in that.
Nope, not a bit.
Is that still your choice?
No, because I'm on this call telling God and everybody.
Yay! I celebrate with you.
Yes.
Me too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, BZ, for, you know, facilitating the forum for me to write my articles. I mean, I've been wanting to write all my life, and there it is, the first fruits of my writing. Thank you.
Cool.
I can't wait.
And these conversations that, you know, that I have with you, beautiful, beautiful women. This is my heart. This is what I desire. This is how I feel about life. You know, all the other sitting at the table. I'm tired of sitting at the table.
Right.
I'm tired of seeing the table. I'm tired of watching other people sit at the table. You know.
Right.
And I know everybody has their own choice, and I know it's not my responsibility to save the world. I know.
Right.
That I'm creating my own experience. And with all of these desires and all of these visions, all of these years, I know there's something there. I just don't know what and how and when and where. And I trust that if I can just get my little self back in that Valentine's Day moment, really, it could just land in my lap right now. So thank you, BZ, for illuminating that.
Even if it, you know, it's you absolutely to play with getting back in that energy, but even to market it. Wow, I did that. Wow, I did that. I mean, I'm serious, because that's giving yourself a break. That's patting yourself on the back. That's going, well, gosh, my muscles are stronger than I thought they were. And hey, you know what? I can hit that high note, and you know, whatever. And what the other thing that's someone just said, well, it can't be that simple. Yes, it is. It's that simple. Is it excruciatingly difficult sometimes? You bet. But it's that simple. We're the ones who make it difficult. We're the ones who come up with every frigging thing squared on steroids, you know?
Yes, I do.
And we miss the shining beacons there that are pointing to us, that are, it, you know, right there, it's pulsing for you to notice, so that when you have a doubt, or you have a frustration, or you have a worry, or you have a headache, whatever it is, you say, well, wait, I did that. So how can I shift myself in this moment to these 8 hours today that I'm doing this, where's the way that I can use those muscles and take those things on and stand in that space to make this for these 8 hours and for what they are and what I'm doing. And I joyfully, because I chose to take this job, right?
Mm-hmm.
I chose to leave that job. I chose to honor my soul and not my lower ego mind and leave that job. And this was the job that popped in.
Yes.
There are no coincidences. Does that mean that you're going to be at this one for 25 years? That's your choice.
Yeah, it is. It is my choice.
But you know what I'm saying? Because it's so much more than a job or not. It's all energy. It's all frequency.
Yes. And you know, I've also I don't know if you ladies are familiar with David Wilcock, but I've watched a lot of his stuff on Gaia and some other venues. But he's put a lot of things together, and someone else, I saw another video about it too, but I think I even made mention of it in one of my posts, but about the geometry, the sound vibration geometry, well, he's found scientists who have done some research and who have come to see that geometry is basically thought, and atoms and DNA. It's like the geometry vibrates in such a way through vibration that creates the DNA, that creates the, you know, and the words and the thoughts that we speak are kind of like directing the geometry to do what it does and how it does. And so that toning and that speaking absolutely is creating.
Yes.
And, you know, years and years ago, I experienced creative miracles. I mean, like my right toe, I watched it grow half an inch in front of my eyes. I mean, I was in this group of people, loving atmosphere. We were singing, just energy, high energy, singing the song. And we were praying for people who had issues. And this brilliant white, unearthly light was around myself, and I watched this happen. So I know that these things are possible. Our bodies are created to self-heal, and our thoughts direct what happens to our bodies. And through that experience, through that miracle experience, having visions of me talking to, tons of people, I went through some personal things and moved and just, blah, 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 life happened. And I came to a place where that wasn't, and I just put what? I don't even know how to say that because I don't want to, but you all know. I just didn't continue in what I knew, and I read this and read that and judged myself and blah, 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 and created something in my body that I didn't like. And I still in my heart hold that, knowing that the miracle is possible, that, our bodies can self-heal. But I also know that I'm the creator of my experience, and I won't say struggling, but I've been batting around this, I love myself. I know this is possible. Oh, judging myself for eating this or not doing that. It's like this constant ping pong of my life throughout the day of, trying to stay in my awareness, trying to stay in my truth instead of allowing all of these thoughts to, so that's part of the struggle. And knowing that the toning, knowing that all of that is the power, I will speak positively, whereas before I would demean myself. So I'm coming back to a place where I feel like the miracles are a possibility again, just because, yes, I've created this other stuff, this other contrasting experiences in my body, but I know that I know the truth and the power of the energy. And that, once again, back to the frustration of, you know, the energy of the being where I'm at 40 hours a week. It's like, I know how valuable, I know how important it is to be in that high energy. And so I acknowledge I took the job, I created this experience, and I know that I can create something better. And I am really appreciating this conversation and having this ability to voice this and to hear your words, BZ and Sheila and Lisa, that are encouraging me to celebrate that moment. And because those are the moments that I know can be all the time.
Right.
But, you know, people around me don't. And I already said many conversations ago, everybody thinks I'm crazy. Well, I don't even care anymore. Let them think I'm crazy, because I know I'm not.
Right. Well, you've lost your mind, and you're in good company with others who've lost their mind. And so, hey, you know, it's good.
Well, thank you. Yes, I like that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I wanted to have you, even if it's just a seed that I tone and you play with it later, but play with, if you like, what is telling you, or how do you, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it. I'll go linear. What makes you so certain that this isn't the absolute specific right job with specific specificity, particularity, to go to the next thing that's opening up? That this isn't designed in such a way to give you experiences, to let you transmit, to let you integrate, to let you get nudged to have this conversation, whatever it is, so that you're buffing up, you're polishing off, you're laying whatever the foundations, you're saying enough friggin' already, and hey, maybe loving myself and boundaries. So all of those kinds of things. I mean, what makes you
to everything?
Where's the proof that it's not tailor-made for this next jump?
I know that it is. I know that it is. I mean, in my frustration of doing the actual job of it, things that I've told myself in the midst of it are, you know, I've made connections with people. Like, things have happened. I've connected with people. I've had conversations. So I know that it is. I do. Thank you. And that's a confirmation. Absolutely it is.
Which brings it back for me to the fact that you're beating yourself up because you took a job. No.
Well, I think the thing that really I'm griping about is the stress of it. But then that reminds me of what David Wilcock just recently illuminated was the I think he calls it the catalyst, and in Abraham Hicks is called contrast. And so that which we come here to this biosphere to experience, those things for our inner being to know what we prefer. So absolutely it's contrast. Absolutely it's, you know, something that I am learning from, that will benefit me moving forward. I just want to do the traveling, laying in the grass thing now.
Well,
but I know that it is.
Don't work 24 hours a day. You can you can do that, and there's a myriad of traveling that you can do, and it doesn't have to be on rubber tires to get there.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yes.
the inner landscape can bring a lot to you, and some people will say, well, that's imagination or blah blah blah. Okay, well, I beg to differ that with the places that I go with my eyes wide open and walking down the road. But so all of this is part of, nothing's wasted. Try as we might to convince ourselves of that. You know, it's all moving in the path that we are in alignment and allowing and choosing. Now,
yes, you're right.
The key is to look at those three things I just talked about, and are they all what you think, you know, or are they where your heart is? Does that make sense?
What? Say that again, please.
Well, so I said they're taking us to the part where we're choosing and allowing, right? And in alignment with.
Okay.
So,
well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I mean, yes, I did choose it. And I'm aware that the contrast is creating, you know, I'm adding more to my vortex, so to speak, as Abraham says. And I know that the things that I'm experiencing are stretching me and helping me grow, and I'm learning things that I have a feeling will be needed down the road. So I know all those things are true.
Well, I am for some reason led to share that my experience in some things like what you're saying here have been that in the moment I couldn't see, grasp, grok why I set this up for myself. It seems like
I'm not laughing at you.
No, whose great idea was this? And,
yeah.
And why the hell did he come up with it?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, because, you know, I mean, my situation too was, you know, abusive situations, jumping from frying pan into fire.
Yeah.
from a really bad to the worst of all worse. And it's only been in hindsight now that I can clearly see why I did those things. What the purpose and it was a much higher purpose, and I didn't consciously know it or see it or grok it at the time, but I can certainly now see how there was a lot of pain, there was a lot of suffering, but there was an awful lot of gold there for me too.
Yes.
That I now clearly see. And so for me, that goes back to, you know, wanting what we want when we want it, and we want it now kind of thing. and not, you know, so
and it's not a but, it's and we are on the path to being fully getting what we want now, but we're going to be prepared and ready and joyful and jumping right in when we get there, instead of going, uh-oh, well, maybe, uh-oh, I can't swim, uh-oh, I just, you know what I'm saying? So all the things we think that this, whatever this is in this place, so for you, Jeanie, it's a job, whatever. So all the things that we are ascribing to this, well, it's temporary, I'll get there someday, you know. We would have the same, we'll argue with it until the cows come home, but we would have the same feeling about if we landed right where we say we wanted, right this moment, now, because we haven't had the expansion for ourselves to meet ourselves in the place that we've designed for ourselves to show up for ourselves.
Yep, I see what you're saying.
And so we'd get there and we'd be going, I don't want to be here. No, you know, it's, and yes, that's hard to fathom when you're thinking, well, I don't know what planet you're from, but like what I want is great and this sucks. And so just take but it's, you know, if people are honest with themselves, they can look, as Sheila talked about, different parts of their life of things and experiences and see, yes, that's exactly so for every single one of them. And when you have the realization, when you have the grit and the guts and the heart and the expansion to celebrate moments like I highlighted that you shared with us that you did, this is not, there's no time, so this is not quite right, but you give the illusion of speeding it up, of leapfrogging, of jumping to the places down the path to where you actually want to be, because you can do the integration and the expansion and all of that stuff much, much, much quicker. So you can skip whole chapters, you know, in that space.
Yes. Thank you for illuminating that. And I don't know why I stopped celebrating so quickly. I mean, it was such an awesome moment and it was such an awesome day. And I kind of reveled in it a little bit over the next few weeks. But I landed on my back a couple days after I quit my job because I had fallen down the stairs at work and my back went out. So I was in bed for a week, my first week of quote unquote retirement. And I was watching a video of my dear friend BZ, and she was holding up this river rock, and I thought, you know, she's talking about looking at it and look at the color and this and that. And I said, you know, I want a healing crystal. I just was thinking about a healing crystal and said, BZ, I would love to have a healing crystal. And then BZ sent me a text and said, Jeanie, these crystals said they want to come live with you. So that was very cool.
Funny how things like that seem to happen.
Gotta love when that happens.
Yeah, that was like, I was like, what? That was, that was a jaw dropper. That was, yes. Oh, and yeah. Wow. So I will definitely give more meditation time to those little nuggets.
And they're peppered all the way through, and everybody's metaphor for them is different, but we have a propensity which we were given and trained and encouraged to do, yet we're the ones who keep perpetuating the propensity and feeding the propensity to go with the other things. But you don't get it, but you don't understand. Or, you know, if 30 things happen today and 2 were spectacular, you spend not only today, but several days, and anybody who you can find to get to tell the other 28 things, which were, you know, not so great or whatever, but, and certainly paled in comparison to the 2 things that were stellar. But you don't talk about, I'm not saying the you, this is the proverbial royal you, right? And so, and that's great. And that's a path. And that's a path that gets you places. And if you like the path, then keep doing the path. But if you're going to be honest and conscious about it, then each one of the yous will decide, okay, I'm going to choose something different. I'm going to try for a day, you know. And is it difficult? Yes, but it's also simple. And it's also the tools of how we do. I mean, look at the whole construct that's right here, and how we gave ourselves the illusion, the fierce, strict, titanium strength illusion that we're small and that we're under other people's thumbs. Because we wanted to give ourselves that.
Yeah, I'm looking at a lot of this for myself as first a deprogramming that I'm trying to undertake. Not trying, I have undertaken. And then also a reprogramming because, well, you know, I'm not used to our last conversation, waking up in the morning and saying, how may I be of service? And listening for those answers. That's not something that I've ever done. So that's for me, that is something that I want to instill in myself. So it's a matter of reprogramming and conditioning myself. Only now I'm doing this in a more conscious fashion. And even when the spectacular things, like what you shared, Jeanie, in regards to your thinking, oh, I want a healing crystal, and busy texting you.
That was wow. Oh my God.
Right. Well, and see, I feel the same way. It's a wow kind of thing, and it's so cool, but that's the way it is.
Right.
That's
correct.
And so, and so I'm trying to, I am in the midst of changing the way I view that. It is not a wow. It is the way things are.
It's just no big deal. It's just the way it is.
Yes, it is. It's just the way it is.
No, I'm serious. It's the truth of who each of us is. And it's no big deal. It's just what are you talking about? This is the way that we communicate. This is the way it works.
It is.
It is. And it only feels like it's a wow because of the programming and conditioning that we're changing, in the midst of changing now. And I feel that very soon now, I will just expect those things instead of the wow factor.
That's not to diminish the feeling of the wow, but it's more to if we don't expect it, then we're not allowing it to flow in.
Well, I guess that's what I'm speaking to, is what I'm saying. Because this is something that I'm looking at for myself. When things like that happen, instead of feeling like it's oh wow and oh how cool, and which I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do that. It's that is the way that it's supposed to work, and the only one that's keeping it from working is me.
Right. Because and so what just came in to share so when we do that, the ticking on that meter comes in, because invariably, wow, that was so cool. How come that doesn't happen to me all the time? Tick, right? I mean, it's just, and then you go, and then you catch yourself and you go, why did you do that? Why did you just do that? So again, that's it's choice, and it's simple, and sometimes it's really hard, but nonetheless, we're amazing beings, and if we choose, we can choose it, and we can remember to remind ourselves to remember to choose it. We're smart. We can do it. Even if we're working, even if, whatever. Yeah, we can do it.
Well, that's part of that's part of the bigness that I hid back in the day. In the circle of people I was around, that stuff was normal. I mean, my neighbor had a headache, and I'd go over and pray for her, and I'd say, do you know so-and-so, and blah, 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 and, you know, she'd be like, yeah, and we'd talk through it, and then headache would be gone. You know, just all kinds of that kind of stuff. And I'm really, really relieved to have someone to talk about this stuff with, and to know that it's real. It's like, what a breath of fresh air to have people that believe this is real. Thank you, guys.
Well, I don't actually believe that it's real. I'm sorry. I'll take umbrage at that. I know that it's real.
I know that it's real.
Okay.
But I don't believe it's real.
Okay. I know. Okay. Thank you for you knowing that it's real. Thank you. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I feel you on that one.
I'm sitting here, sitting with my truck, and I'm sitting on the back end of my car, looking at the moon and the stars and the trees. And this is a very wonderful and precious moment.
Oh, thank you for sharing with us what you're doing there, Jeanie. Yeah. That's wonderful to know that you're enjoying the nature while you're
and
always
you're traveling, and you're, you know, and you're you know, your story, your gifts. So here we'll bring it, we're going to bring it right back around to, I love how they do that. We'll bring it right back around to the title.
You go,
So
girl.
when you top the list, you give the most to others. So look at the gift that you've given us here in the energetic envelope, and all those, you know, who have partaken with us now, and then we'll watch in the moment that they watch it in, because this was not a tick, tick, tick metered moment. This was a true, genuine, open-hearted being of service and transmitting. So
all the while disguised as having fun with something what was feeding your soul, right, what you wished to do.
Right.
Thank you. And you're welcome.
That's so cool, because I was just getting ready to say thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Wow, what a cool conversation. And yes,
yeah,
I expected it.
Well, thank you.
I always expect cool conversations. That's part of the reason we do this, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, I hope you'll come back and play with us again real soon, Jeanie.
Yes.
I would love that. Absolutely.
So would I.
Yeah. Do any of you ladies have anything else you'd like to add to this energetic envelope?
I'm good.
No? Okay. Well, we will have all the usual things in all the usual places. And hopefully I'll be able to have, I really am, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find that video. And if I can, I will also find a video on cymatics, because that's what you were speaking to earlier, Jeanie. And yeah. I think that's, I think that was a really good point, because sound is frequency, and it is very clear that that sound does make geometric shapes, and I know exactly what you're speaking on, and so I'll try.
Well, and also a shout out to David Wilcock, who has done wisdom teachings on Gaia TV. If anyone's interested in knowing more about all the whole story of it, and all the research that he's uncovered, that would be a great place to look if anyone's interested in seeing more of that.
yeah, he was instrumental in part of my spiritual awakening and intake of information as well. So thank you guys. Until next time.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you too.